Welcome to another episode of the Peak Potential Success Show. My name is Fong. I'm an entrepreneur, business strategist, real estate investor, speaker, also best-selling author, and every single day I help others unlock potential to guide them to succeed. Today on the show, we have another fascinating guest. On the show, we interview celebrities, entrepreneurs, business CEOs to ask them how they're able to overcome success, overcome trials and tribulations, how they're able to reach their success, what their path to success is. And today's guest is definitely somebody who could share his story and share some input into that theme because he has gone through lots of trials and tribulations, lots of challenges, and lots of adversity. And some of that stuff is something that most of us, are not able to relate to. And I'm sure he's going to share some of that because it's absolutely an amazing story. I've had the opportunity to meet him actually a couple of times, once virtually, and only to find out that he was right in my home city. And I got to meet him live face to face at another leadership conference. And everybody there was saying, hey, you got to meet him. You got to meet him. You got to meet him. And after meeting him, chatting with him a few times, I was absolutely blown away. He is a person that absolutely wears persistence and resilience and optimism on his sleeve, on his heart, and something I think everybody should have because he's been able to use all that stuff, all the trials and tribulations, and transform that into triumphs, taking all that knowledge, all that experience, all that wisdom, and helping others out there succeed and grow and become the better selves and whatnot. So he's an amazing, amazing person. He's an award winner. He's been featured on so many different media outlets. He's an international best-selling author for the book Coming to Canada, The Ultimate Success Guide for New Immigrants and Travelers. So please welcome transformational coach and community leader, Chidi.
Thank you so much for that warm and enthusiastic welcome. Thank you. I really appreciate you for having me here.
Well, thank you very much for being here. You are an individual that right off the top of my head was like, wow, he's done so much, he's gone through so much, and now he's taking all that stuff, even if it's negative, into a positive light and helping others, which is absolutely amazing. And I'm like, I gotta get him on here because your story is absolutely amazing, and lots of people are not able to relate to that type of story because I'm pretty sure most people haven't gone through that type of experience. So let's jump right into it. How did you become the person you are today? And that very interesting background that you have. So please share.
Yeah. So I remember when I was just about 7 or 10, I can't remember, but I just came back from the farm with my mom. And she said to me that she was going to prepare my favorite food at the time. And my favorite was yam, vegetable, and fish. So when we got to the house, she said the only condition in which she's going to do all of that, cook for me that particular meal, was that I participate in the meal. So part of my participation in the meal was to help peel the yam. As I was peeling the yam, the knife went boom through my hand and the blood splattered everywhere. My mom came out from her room, looked at me, looked at the hand, sighed, went into the room, got clothes, and tied my hands up. I was screaming on top of my voice. And then she went out to call a couple of relations, and they took me to the medical center. Now, my hands patched up, and we were headed home. I asked her a question, and a question that turned out to be the answer turned out to be a defining moment in my life. I said to her, 1 minute we were cooking, we were looking forward to a meal. The next minute, I thought my life was over when I saw the blood. But in all of this, you get so calm like cucumber. And she said to me, every time I face a crisis, I remind myself that this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Just think about it. So at that moment, I didn't know I was getting a life lesson. I didn't know it was a lesson that I needed to apply going forward in my life in so many ways. But it has always been this too shall pass. It can only get better. I have defined what I do, where I'm going from, where I'm coming from, and what I have done. So if you ask me about what defines me, what has helped me go through this philosophy that tomorrow will always get better. This is a challenge. This is a station. We're going to leave this station and move to the next one. And that is what has defined who I am.
That is absolutely incredible. I mean, I think lots of people at that age would be screaming and yelling and going, my life is over. But that one sentence of this too shall pass absolutely puts things into perspective. I think my parents' version is like, oh, it's not that big a deal. Get over it, kind of thing, right?
Right, right.
But you've taken that sentence to a whole new level on things that are so challenging, so difficult, and to the point where most people in their adult life will be like, that is impossible to even think about, yet overcome and look at it from a perspective of this too shall pass. So share with us that journey because I know that is something that was very, very difficult for you, but you're able to take that and look at it from a point of view of, well, this will pass. So how did you go through that process and kind of share that story too?
So first of all is to remember that life didn't give me any other choice, right? I didn't ask for what I got on my plate. I had lemons, and so I had to make lemonades. The point being that you could have two reactions, two responses to every crisis that you have. One, you can allow it to overwhelm you, to push you into submission where you give up, where you don't bother again, or you could transform them into fuels to power your future and your success. So at every given moment, I think that we have the capacity to choose how to respond to our crisis, to choose how to build on our challenges, and to turn our trials into transformations. The our ability to convert, to think through this and have that this is a storm. After the sun, there's going to be a sunshine. It helps a lot. It helps us to go through. So typically speaking, when I had those challenges, like you've mentioned, I didn't have any choice, but in terms of whether I was going to survive or not, but my mental attitude to them helped me overcome, right? So it was more or less like, okay, so here is the deal, here is the challenge, here is the problem. Do I succumb to this? Do I fold up under this? Or do I move forward? And then remembering that I have gone through things that are even more difficult in the past helped me to get that perspective.
Mhm. That is incredible. But like the thing is, what you had to go through is go through an experience that nobody has typically gone through, and that is a kidnapping. And for you to put that into perspective of, well, this will pass, I could choose to be positive or negative. At that moment in time, how would you put it into a mindset of, I could get past this? I mean, you must be scared. There must be so many things pushed in your way of thinking, hey, I would come out of this alive, or I would come out of this unscathed. How did you get through that experience every moment, every minute, every day, however long it was, and still have that positive mindset?
Well, again, as you may know, it was a very sudden traumatic experience. I was on my way to go pick my kids from school, and a car passes me on the side and then stops right in front of me. And before I knew what was going on, I had the cold, deadly steel of a gun to my head. And I was taken in, uh, tortured, traumatized, and terrorized for days, and a ransom was demanded and paid. But there was at a point where I thought it was over. I thought it's not likely I'm going to survive this experience. But one thought came to me at that moment, and I said to myself, if I give up, these guys will have won. If I give up, they will have won. So that idea of you could do whatever you are doing to my body, you could do whatever you are doing to me, but mentally, I'm not giving into what you are doing. I am going to survive and tell this story and share it to strengthen others. Not because I want to look like I'm a superhuman. I'm not. It's
Mhm.
just that I wanted every other person who hears the story to say, hey, if this guy can go through this kind of life experience and he's still there supporting others, encouraging others, I could overcome whatever it is I'm dealing with, right? So at that moment when I decided you are not going to win, I am going to find a way to dig inside, to go back to that lesson that I was taught in my childhood, to dig inside and survive this. It made a whole lot of difference because at that moment I started looking forward to the post experience. No longer will I be able to survive. I'm thinking about my life after the experience. What am I going to do? How reunited with my family and all of that. So it helped a lot that you at that I made that decision, that conscious decision that I am going to survive this no matter what is thrown at me.
Wow. I actually had the opportunity of speaking with another individual who was in prison for a few days, and it was wrongfully imprisoned. And what he did was go into his mind palace and go on mind vacations and just think about, oh, I'm in the Bermudas right now. Oh, I'm in the Caribbeans right now. Oh, I could go through another day. It just showcases like yourself how important your mind is to keep focused on what happens post and what is there to look forward to. And that really carried you over to who you are today. Now, if you weren't a transformational coach today, what would you have been before?
So when this experience was going through, I went through this experience. I was a banker. I was a middle level, no, a senior level manager,
Mm.
right? With a couple of banks. I have worked with a couple of banks. So I worked in the financial services industry at the time all of this was going on. And one of the things I told myself was, when I survive this, I'm going to use the rest of my life, the remaining days of my life, to help support others, to make sure that there's some impact that will help others to also overcome their challenges. So it made me move from that number crunching individual who sits behind a computer every day to somebody who says, you know what, I know what you are going through right now.
Wow.
And believe me, I have been there. But I also know that you can overcome this. And more importantly, is that your story will also inspire others to overcome even bigger challenges.
Mhm. Was that something that you were 100% sure that you're going to do? Or was it something that you kind of had to think about it more post the situation?
No, I had to think about it more post the situation because I am one individual who doesn't like to be in the limelight. Okay, I
Mm.
don't want to be at the center of everything. Okay, so sometimes I struggled with myself for quite some years to go through this path, to take this. And when I get discouraged, I said to myself, there's a reason all of this was given to you. There's a reason that you had to go through this because I think that there's something to gain from adversity, right? There are so many lessons to gain from adversity. Now, if you keep it to yourself, if you don't speak up, if you don't communicate, if you don't support others, how will people benefit from all of this? Because guess what? It will have been a wasted experience, as far as I'm concerned. It will have been, humanity wouldn't be better off that I went through that. But when I coach people and I said to them, I understand. I may not know what you are going through in terms of the details. Your situation may be different, but I truly, truly understand how this can be overwhelming. I'm coming from a place of authenticity, a place of, I have gone through this. I know how it can be challenging. But there's one thing I can tell you for free. Working together, we can overcome it, we can build on it, and we can transform it into something that will inspire others when they hear your story.
Mhm. Now, you said you come from a banker's background. You also mentioned you're not a type of person who likes to be in the spotlight and share stories and speak in front of people. So what was that first experience like where you're supposed to, okay, I'm going to do this now. Oh, look, I have an audience. I'm going to go speak. How was that transition for you? What did you do? What did you work on to get you to the point where you can actually speak in front of people about your story?
It's been like people coming to you and say, hey, I've heard about this. I heard about you, what you went through, and coming more or less to commiserate with you. And you're saying, no, this is not about me. This is not about making me more or less rejoicing with me in the sense that I have gone through all of this. But there are lessons that we can learn from this. So more of speaking from an audience of one to now talking to audiences of thousands, right? Because when you resonate with one person, I know it was going to resonate with a lot of people. And it got to a point where not just because of the kidnapping, but because of the lessons inherent in it, the lessons of starting afresh, the lessons of overcoming adversity, overcoming obstacles, and all of that. And this could be shared among all kinds of people. A lot of people all over the world are going through things that will need them to have faith that they can overcome, that they can start all over, that even when things look bleak, that there's sunshine ahead of them. And so knowing that you have resonated with a few people that I shared it with, I felt, okay, why don't you look for somewhere, somehow to magnify this to serve a little bit more people. And then I went to Toastmasters to help me with my public speaking, to hone my ability to communicate and to put the stories in perspective.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any aha moments or moments where you go, oh, I'm never doing that again from a speaking perspective?
No, because at the end of the day, it's about connecting with people. It's about you having something to share that you believe genuinely that
Mm-hmm.
others would benefit from. So think about it from this point of view. If there's something that I could give you today, and I know that by giving it to you, it's going to strengthen you, it's going to help you, it's going to build you up, it would be very selfish of me to keep it back, right? Because it's like when you share the lessons, the goodness, the successes, or the lessons that you've learned. It's like lighting a candle. You don't know how many other candles that will be lit up because of that. The impact that you have, people that you may never see, names that you never know, will benefit from it down to generations. I'll give you an example. Uh, when I made the decision to come to Canada, and then after we had settled and people were coming to me, people were landing in my house, and I was helping them to find their feet in Canada. And somebody says to me, you know this a little bit more than many people that I've seen. Why don't you write a book? I said, I'm not an author, right? I'm not an author. But after a little bit of persuasion, I saw a reason why I could put all of that in a book that somebody can read, no matter what part of the world you come from. Today, I get reviews and I get emails from people that I would never, ever will have met saying that book was helpful. That book, and not just in Canada, people who have moved to Australia, the United Kingdom, New Zealand, United States, saying that book was helpful to me in the process of my settling. So that small effort that we make today could have a ripple effect that will affect those we would never, ever have known.
Mhm. That is incredible. I was going to ask you how did the book come about, but you just shared that story there. Now, lots of people come up to you who are successful in their own right or have certain accomplishments already, yet they're stuck at some point, and they come to you, okay, how do I overcome this? Or I'm fearful of that. What have you found is the most common issue that most people have that's stopping them from getting them to where they want to be?
Oh, it's fear. And that fear is the fear, broadly, fear of the unknown, fear of success, sometimes fear of failure, and fear of embarrassment. Okay. Now, the biggest challenge is letting people know that actually sometimes these are fears are like dogs threatening us who don't have teeth. Like you have a toothless dog that's chasing you up and down. Because it's been shown, and don't take my word for it, it's been shown by research that 83% of the fears that we have never materialize. So think about any of the worst things that you can think of. 83% of the time, it doesn't materialize. Now, of the remaining 17 or so percent that happens, 91% of the people said that they handled it better than they thought, they learned from it, and it was good for them to have gone through that experience. Again, this is from the University of Cornell, a research on fear. Now, if you do the maths, you begin to look at 97% of the times of the things that we fear either never happen or were beneficial to us. So it's just about 3%. So when you flip it over like that and ask somebody, what will you do? What will you um, determined to go, which part will you explore if you know that you have 97% chance of success? It begins to open the way. It begins to like change the mindset. People begin to see, okay, oh, it's not as bad as I thought. We have 97% of succeeding in our business, 97% of succeeding in that new venture, 97% of succeeding in our relationship, 97% of parenting of our children turning out well, 97%. But the human mind, which hasn't evolved as much as we thought, will always focus on that danger because the work of the brain is to keep us safe primarily. So it will always focus on that danger. But if you sit down and explore that problem and see that for all it is worth, it's just 3% that I'm struggling with. It begins to put this in perspective, and then you see people move on, go out there to achieve things and to live the best versions of their lives.
That is incredible. I love how you turn that around and using statistics to make it in your favor. The odds are in our favor to actually succeed or grow from any experience. And you illustrated it very, very well right there. Now, the thing is, you are also a person who is a pro. You're a man of persistence, of resiliency, and also optimism. That is not something that people can live on a day-to-day basis saying, hey, I'm optimistic all the time, or I'm persistent all the time. Is there something that you do on a daily basis? And I know it probably took years or a lot of time for you to develop that mindset, but how do you develop that mindset to be majority of the time persistent, resilient, and optimistic?
Yeah, there are small micro steps that we can take daily to help us in building up our optimism, our persistency, and our resiliency. Micro steps, the things that are like small things that we can do. One of them is affirmation, the things that you say to yourself. Because listen, at any given moment, there are conversations going on in your mind. And the minute you realize that your mind is the biggest real estate in the world, then you are mindful of the conversations that are going on. And the first thing is to make sure that most of that conversation stays positive. So the affirmations, the small talks that we do to ourselves, and of course, the habit of looking at your blessings. So what are being grateful for the things that you have rather than just focusing on the things that you don't have. Things as simple as breathing. Things as simple as opening your eyes when you wake up. Because when you go to the hospitals and you see people on oxygen, you begin to have a different perspective about the things that we take for granted. I have had instances and things happen to me that have made me realize that most of the things we take for granted are actually things that millions of people are praying for, are looking forward to, are just hoping for. So that idea of gratitude, that idea of knowing that you are blessed in whatever form. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you will not see obstacles. Nobody's promising you a challenge-free life. Actually, challenge-free life will just not be possible. But it's that I am grateful for where I am, even when I'm pushing for where I'm going to. And I know there are obstacles on the way. I'm going to overcome them. So gratitude, journaling at the end of the day is also amazing. Okay? Having some time to reflect on what your passions are, what your mission is, because I believe that every one of us here, there's a mission that we are on. See, when nature sees a need, it creates a genius. So all of us here, there's a reason why we're here, right? And so those kind of self-reflection, making time for self-reflection helps you a lot. The challenge, of course, is that we live in a period in history where we are bombarded by information, or we're bombarded by stimuli. So finding time to go inside you, to think, to reflect, becomes challenging. But if you do it, micro steps, you will reap the benefit, and it's amazing.
Now, for lots of people who start on that path of being resilient, to having that mindset, when things get tough, when things get hard for them, what is your recommendation for them to work on in that moment so that they're able to overcome those humps and those challenges and
It's to
that
pause.
tough time? Pardon?
Sorry. I would just recommend that you just pause. Pause. See, the idea that when things are overwhelming, you put yourself, you just stay still and then pause for a moment, take a breath there or two, and mentally take yourself out of that situation so you can then look at it from a different perspective. Helps a lot. So when you are faced with a challenge, you are like, okay, what is this I'm facing? What is happening right now? What kind of feelings do I have about this? And how can what have I learned in the past that can support me to do this? I'll give you a practical example. When that gun got to my head, right, and I was pulled out from the car, even though I was being pushed around mentally, I went into that, okay, so what am I dealing with right now? From a risk assessment point of view. I am dealing with a life and death situation. What would give me the best outcome is to cooperate. I don't know what these guys are looking for, but at this particular moment, if I were to cooperate with them, it increases the chances of my surviving. Because if I start resisting, I can't resist 6 men who had guns, who had probably done this over a period of time. If I resist them and they shoot me, it will be all over. But at that moment, I was able to tell myself to pause, to calm, to assess, and then to decide how to go forward. So it's that moment where you need to slow everything down and pause for a moment, shut it down, think, what am I dealing with right now? And how do I proceed? It helps a lot.
That is incredible. I have a feeling that those kidnappers, well, wow, this is the calmest person we've ever dealt with.
Yeah, you know what I say? At some point, I just realized that my chances were way better if I cooperate with these guys to even get to a point where we start sharing stories and all of that. I spoke to them. I was still on blindfold. I was still being tortured and all of that, but I didn't see their faces throughout the whole period. But I was able to talk to them and say, hey, how are you doing? Is there something, just to make sure that I am comfortable? Because if they're not comfortable with me, then I am going to be in a bigger danger. So yeah, it helped a lot that I was calm at that moment and I didn't do anything stupid, to be honest. But it could have been worse.
That is absolutely amazing. So that calmness, is that something that a person could work on? Like how do you be calm in the toughest of moments? I know you talked about a little bit about that, but calmness is not something that comes naturally.
No,
It's
it
something
doesn't.
that you need to train your brain on. So how would one train calmness?
It doesn't come natural. Our tendency is to be action oriented.
Yeah.
But if you are aware of if you're self-aware, if you're aware of your environment, and you could again take that minute to just pause and then assess where you are, what is going on, it helps a lot. And that is the reason why it's not everybody that can do it. And that's why people need support to get to that level where they're able to achieve it. One of the micro steps, again, that you can take is to do daily meditations. So if you could just sit still for 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, and build it up, then in those challenging times when you everything in you says respond, and you said, no, I need to take this easy. And it's not just in terms of extraordinary crisis. It's you are in the office, you're working with somebody, and the person says things that throws you off. You are not going into that
Reaction mode.
reaction immediately. You are saying, okay, maybe this person is having a bad day. Especially for leaders, maybe this person is having a bad day. Hey, is everything okay and all of that? Just because you have practiced meditation, which helps us to be mindful of where we are, and you don't need to be a guru. You just start with 1 minute, put away the phone, do 1 minute meditation, and then mindfulness, and build it up from there.
Those are very, very small incremental steps that people can take. And it's another benefit of what meditation could do for you is to have that calmness, not react right away. And I'm pretty sure it helped you in your speaking ventures as well. Lots of people struggle with pause when they're speaking in front of lots of people. Hence they ramble, they add words, they go ahs and ums, but if you're able to pause, that moment of silence actually has a lot of great benefits because it really hits home the point that you're trying to make. So even that is a great small incremental step by just pausing. So absolutely love that insight there. Now, you've gone through that experience. Today, now, what is fearful for you? What is something that you go, okay, that is still scary, and I don't know if I can overcome that. Like for today, Chidi, what is it that you're afraid of?
Good question. There's something that I am worried about, and it's futuristic, but I'm still optimistic about it. And that is parenting. It worries me a lot. Okay. So I have 3 boys. And one of my biggest blessings in life is being a dad to the 3 boys. And sometimes I worry and I wonder whether I am on the right path. Okay. There are some decisions I take, some points I deviate, or as we go through that parenting journey, you are wondering, will this be for the best outcome or will it not be? Am I being too hard? Am I being too permissive? Am I bringing these boys up in a way that when I'm not there tomorrow, they could be resilient, optimistic, persistent individuals? So it worries me. It's something that scares me. So I don't want to come to your show and figure out everything about life. No, I'm still that dad that worries. Did I pull that phone away from this guy too soon? Should I have had a conversation with them rather than saying, hey, you've done this, give me your phone, right? All of those, they play in. But there's one beautiful thing about life. You do the best you can, given the information that you have, given your situation at that time. And also, I have mentors. I look for mentors. So I have mentors in the community. I go, can I take a bit of your time? I have this situation. This is how I handled it. This is what I thought. What will you have done in my stead? Because I believe in the power of mentoring. See, as I coach, I also people who are coaching me. As I mentor others, I also have people who are mentoring me. Because if you stop learning, you start dying.
Yeah, absolutely agree. I mean, coaching has absolutely changed my life. What would you say is the biggest benefit of having a coach or a mentor in your life?
Oh, think about you are driving. Think about it from this point of view that you're driving through the dark. You can only see as far as the headlight you have, right? Now, you are going through a journey somebody had already gone through. So the person knows where the costs are, where the challenges are, where the problems are, and the person is able to share all of that with you. So you don't need to rediscover the wheel. You don't need to do anything extraordinary. All you need to do is find somebody that you can trust, somebody who has proven over time that they have what it takes to support you, and be vulnerable to the person. Be vulnerable enough to say, I need your help in this way, and allow the person to share. Because what I found out, there are so many people who want to support people, but in our Canadian world, in the Western world, we don't want to impose our ways on people. We just want people. Canadians will only support you when you reach out. They're not going to come and tell you what. But there are so many people, and there are so many aspects of life where you need mentorship. I've mentioned something like about parenting, even business, even what you are doing. So it's amazing what we can gain when we have mentors and coaches in our lives.
Exactly. When you're giving that analogy of driving, in my mind, the coach is in the passenger seat, completely relaxed, close his eyes, and just sitting along. And you're like, oh no, what did I do? And he goes, "You'll be fine. Just keep
Yeah.
going. Take a
Yeah.
left." Um, you talked about the fact that having a coach in your life is able to help you like see the future, give you like take away the unknowns. How has a coach helped you from an accountability point of view?
The fact that I had a conversation with somebody that I trust,
Mhm.
somebody that I know, somebody that I love, and that this person is waiting for me to come back for us to have that conversation about what did you do with what I told you the last time has helped me a lot. Okay, think about it. You don't want somebody to go to somebody and say, hey, I need your help in this. And the person devotes 5, 10, 20 minutes of their time talking to you. And then after that, don't do anything with it.
Right.
It wouldn't make sense at all. It would be a disservice to them. Okay, it would be a disservice to yourself as well. And one of the most precious things anybody can give you in life is their time. Now, if they go in addition to their time, give you their experiences and their lessons learned, and you don't do anything with it, well, you're saying to them, I don't value you.
Mhm.
And so having that piece where you're accountable to somebody had helped me a lot. Helped me to um, go through challenges, go through situations that I probably wouldn't have had any clue. The other side of it is having somebody outside of you, from having a helicopter view of what you are doing, helps you a lot because you need that perspective. And the perspective coming from somebody who probably is a more experienced than you, probably who had gone through that path before, is valueless.
Very, very important stuff. So what's in the future for you? What are some of the big things that you're working on right now? What are you excited for? What are you afraid about? Aside from parenting, but from an entrepreneurship point of view, is there anything that you're like, oh, that's a challenge and I'm going to overcome that?
Well, I just said it that given what I have known, what I have seen, that there's a particular need to support educators. Now, I talked about parenting, right? I also know that people who teachers in the classroom, go through a lot. It's time we begin to talk about the stress, the challenges, the chronic stress, the challenges that people experience in the teaching profession. So I thought that it's something that I'm going to be working with teachers to see how can I use my experience to support their self-care, support their well-being, and to build their resilience. So that's exciting for me. That's the next project that I'm having, and I'm looking forward to that, as the years go down.
That is awesome. I can imagine a lot of kindergarten teachers or first grade teachers taking that calm approach where the kids are screaming and yelling and they're just like, okay, I need to take a moment and pause.
Yeah.
Calm. Um, if you were on the world stage again and you were given a couple of minutes to share one of the most important lessons that you want to share or a message to the world, what would that one thing that you want everybody to remember CHIDI for?
Learn to live forward. Learn to live forward. And this is the reason I know people are hurting. People are going through a lot right now. People are struggling, especially given the aftermath of COVID-19. But I've also seen in my life and the life of others that I've come in contact with that some of the times, if we take a perspective that we can go through this and that we can succeed and that we can move forward beyond this, it helps a lot. So rather than being stuck, rather than being in the place where we are dwelling on our challenges most of the time, we think about how can I move forward from this? Just that thinking, how can I move forward from this, can help you close that gap that exists between your reality and the goals you set for yourself.
Great words to live by. So everybody remember that lesson because it's one of those things that's going to help your mindset and be more successful moving forward. Before I let you go, I got 5 quick rapid fire questions for you. Give me the first thing that comes to mind. You're stranded on a deserted island, one food to eat for the rest of your life. What's that one food that you would eat that has absolutely no consequence on you?
Banana.
Pardon?
Banana.
Ah, so healthy. Hollywood calls and goes, hey, CHIDI, we love your story. It's so inspirational, so motivational. Who would you cast to play you?
There's in Washington.
Denzel shows up at your door and goes, hey, CHIDI, buddy, I got casted to play you. I'm very, very excited. Let's get to know each other. Let's hang out. And you go, hey, buddy, Denzel, I got the whole night planned out. Let's go. What does that night look like to you?
It's going to be spent over a couple of coffee and beer, and then talking through where I have been, where I'm coming from, what I'm doing now, and what the future looks like.
Okay. Now he's hungry. And you go, yeah, I got that covered too. Come right back over to my place. I'll fix you a very, very special dinner. What's that special dish that you would prepare?
Boy, now I have to think. Okay, so it's probably going to be salad, Caesar salad.
Very nice and simple and healthy, just like the bananas. You'll put some of that in there. Because the Olympics are just over, I'll ask this question. If you had a chance to win the gold medal in any event, winter, summer, which event would you like to win the gold medal in?
Summer Olympics, and it will be the 100-meter dash.
Oh, yeah, of course. That's where all the glory is. Last question. Give me a number from 1 to 6.
5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So if you had to use a monster truck as a metaphor for success, how is success like a monster truck?
Monster truck is very flexible. You can use it in all kinds of situations. You can use it for transportation of goods, you can use it for transportation of humans, you can use it to go to church, you can use it at the farm, you can use it everywhere. So that gives you the sense that as human beings, we need to be flexible. We need to adapt to our situation. We need to understand how where we are today does not really reflect where we are going. And therefore, we should be versatile, learn whatever we want to learn, and then apply those knowledge on our journey forward.
I see that, and thank you very much. So that's how success is like monster trucks. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you?
My email is chidi@chidispeaks.com.
And how can people get your book?
My book is on Amazon. It's on Amazon. It's also on my website at chidispeaks.com. And then you can also follow me on my socials, send me a link, and we can get it over to you.
Awesome. So everybody should make sure you connect with Chidi. And last thing, any final words that you would like to share?
My last words for today will be keep at it. Just keep at it.
Nicely done. So that is Chidi. My name is Fong. And until next time, today is Day to Lock the Peak Potential. Well, I'll see you later.